Say hello to the T1 from Velotric. It's a lightweight city e-bike that you can track with your phone, unlock with your fingerprint, and it has a ton of other unique features. But is this bike flash over substance, or did it leave us impressed? Let's go on a ride and find out. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Electric Bike Report. I'm Griffin Hales, and just a friendly reminder that a subscribe and a like on this video go a long way in helping out me and the team. Now, let's talk about the T1. All e-bikes are trying to make some sort of splash. Hey, it's a crowded market, so you have to do something to stand out, right? Well, the T1's feature package is not one that you find every day, and it does add a little something extra on top of being just another lightweight city e-bike. And speaking of which, it's a bike that we weighed at only 37 pounds, which is definitely nice and light. It also is very discreet as the cables, controller, and battery are all tucked away in the frame. But on top of that, you get really cool features not seen on many affordable DTC e-bikes. If you are the type of person that controls your house, your car, basically your whole life from your phone, then you'll love the T1. It ties a lot of the ownership experience in through the app. It has anti-theft alert, GPS tracking, keyless lock and unlock, real-time ride and health tracking, and all of that are accessed through the app, as well as some custom ride modes too. It's also capable of receiving updates over time to add to your ride. The product page teases crash detection coming sometime soon too, which is awesome to see. That's a lot of cool tech, but let's talk about the ride. The T1 here is purpose-built for the active rider, or think of it as more of a fitness-oriented machine. A lot of people don't want to switch to an e-bike for fear of losing their beloved cardio workout, and that simply won't be the case here. Velotric's VeloPower E35 Plus drive system is designed to be ultra quiet, smooth, and to add to your efforts, but not exponentially so. The rider will still get a nice amount of work in on every single journey. Now let's dive a little deeper and cover all the specs that you get with the T1. First off, the bike comes in either a medium or large frame. And there are two colors, such as the frozen blue you see here, or there is a crystal black. There's technically an ST version of this bike, but it does have a lot of differences, so I'll leave a link to our review of that one in the video description down below. The 350 watt motor produces 45 newton meters of torque and peaks at 600 watts. All of that runs off a torque sensor for smooth engagement. The battery is a 36 volt 9.8 amp hour or 350 watt hour system, and the entire electrical unit is UL 2849 certified, which is great to see. The drivetrain is an 8-speed Shimano with an 11 to 32 tooth cassette with a 40 tooth chainring up front. The tires are 700 by 38C with a little bit of tread on them, and stopping those are Tektro HD R280 hydraulic disc brakes. They have 2 piston calipers on 160mm rotors front and rear. Taking a look at the cockpit, you'll see it's clean and minimal. There's a 600mm handlebar, soft Velotric sport grips on either side. They were a bit thin for my taste, but they did have good grip. The right side has your rapid fire trigger shifters. Then over here on the left, we have the included bell and the control panel for operating the PAS levels. You can follow the changing PAS modes by the light ring on the top tube with its changing colors, or from the app. The stem has a Garmin mount compatible part, so you can mount your phone, which will function as the bike's display. Now, usage is optional so long as you unlock the bike, but it's cool that it comes built in like that. Now, I've had the mounting plate on the back of my phone for several weeks, and while I've liked riding the bike with the phone on there, it's a trade-off as I have had to pop the phone out of its case if I want to use any of my wireless chargers. Finally, you get a Cell Royal SRX saddle, and the bike includes a headlight and taillights, as well as bosses for water bottle cages along the frame with mounts on the fork as well. Now that covers all that the T1 comes with, but let's see how it adds up to its ride in our testing. As always, to test out the brake capabilities, I rode the T1 up to 20 miles per hour before hitting the brakes, then measuring the distance it took to stop. I did this 3 times for a clean average, and we ended up with a result of 26 feet and 1 inch. Now, there's a little room for improvement here, as that's nearly 4 feet beyond what we often see for city bikes, but I will give the bike the benefit of the doubt that it could have performed better than that score. We were sent a medium frame to test, and sizing recommendations for that size of frame end at 6 feet. Now, as someone who is a 6'1" person, I did feel like the bike was too small for me, particularly in terms of its reach. So I went a little lighter than usual on the brakes to maintain control and not run the risk of doing any somersaults. A good reminder to check the sizing recommendations before buying your bike so you feel more comfortable. Now, in a more general experience, I thought the brakes were solid. I did plenty of riding down hills on the T1, including some of the steepest hills in town, and they never failed to stop me from going out into traffic. The 2-piston R280 system from Tektro isn't the most common one we see, but we do like and trust the Tektro brand. So perhaps going to the E350 or bumping up the rotor size to 180s would be nice. But for now, the setup it has is fine and usable, just not one of our better results. The T1 ships as a Class 1 bike going up to 20 miles per hour. To show off its speeds in the bike's conservative and more aggressive modes, let's head out now to our speed course. All right, so this is our speed test for the Velotric T1. Right now this is in the bike's more conservative setting for power output. This is the city mode. That's where you're gonna get the best possible range. So right now I'm just riding around in 3rd gear. I mean, it's a lightweight bike, pretty easy to move. It's going about 11 miles per hour. You can move up a gear, go a little bit faster. But I'm not gonna push too hard. I'm gonna let the bike do the majority of the work. So let's see what that motor does. All right, so as I bump it up into eco mode, there's not a lot of discernible difference, but you know, I am picking up just a little bit of a pace here, up to 12 miles per hour. So overall, very subtle. I mean, I can't hear anything. If I'm being honest, I can't really feel a whole lot, but you know, I'm holding 12 miles per hour a little bit more easily now. So we'll move one more time. Now we're up into tour mode. So still not a whole lot back there really telling me if it's on or off. So we'll move up one more time. We're in the normal setting and going a little bit faster now. I think I can start to feel it. It's definitely becoming like easier on the gearing, so we'll move into 5th gear. I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera, but you know, if I strain my ears, I can definitely hear it humming. I can definitely hear it at work. Going a little bit faster, up to 14 miles per hour. Move one more time. Now we're into sport mode. And here's, I think, where I can feel it the most. It's still very, very light, very subtle. I'm going about 15 miles per hour. So yeah, this is definitely gonna give you a very, it's almost kind of like having a tailwind, I'd say. Now at 16 miles per hour. Come around this last bend, we'll move into turbo mode and see what we can do. Kind of just the same thing. I mean, you know, if I strain my ears, I can hear it hum a little bit. Still kind of that tailwind effect, but you know, ordinarily with the hub motors, even the smaller ones, you can sometimes just feel them through the bike, and that's not really the case here. It's just kind of very subtle. It's definitely working though. So yeah, I even tried moving up into 7th gear, but I think 16 miles per hour is about where I'm topping off. Did pop into 17 miles per hour briefly. Topping off here on the city mode, but let's see what it's like when we give it full power. All right, so now I've got things switched over to the bike's max settings where it's gonna give us full access to the motor power. So again, riding around about 10 miles per hour. We'll see what happens when we kick the motor on. And into eco mode. So this is a noticeable difference between the last setting we were in. I can instantly hear a little hum from the motor. I can see I'm going a little bit faster, kick it from 10 up to 12 miles per hour. Definitely more noticeable with this output setting. Move up into tour mode. I'm able to change a gear, move up into 5th gear now. A lot of discernible difference from eco mode. Maybe slightly faster at 13 miles per hour, but you know, the feeling through the bikes is about the same. Move one more time into into normal mode. I feel like I can feel it picking up a little bit of steam. It's able to go a little bit quicker, going up to 15 miles per hour. I'm not going to push the bike too hard, but it definitely is the type of bike that's trying to reward greater effort. So keep as consistent as I can, but with about 16 miles per hour or so in normal mode. Here in 6th gear, go one more time into sport mode. And yeah, I think just about every level you can kind of feel, you know, like 5 or 10% more of a push. It's kind of how I would describe it. So I'm able to get into 7th gear, going 18 miles per hour. I mean, still not a lot of discernible noise. It's kind of the same amount of hum I feel like I heard from eco mode in this setting. We finish things off into this turn, put it into turbo mode, and this was, if it was 5 or 10% before, that one was a solid 10 or 15% more. Finish things off, move into 8th gear, final gear here, as it picks up. I mean, we're definitely moving now, and it's kind of a unique feeling. This is actually one of the better done subtle motors I think I've felt, because I'm going 20. I almost feel like it's all me, but the more I focus on it, I can tell it's not all me. So, bike's definitely working. But yeah, I think about 20 miles, oh, we got to 21. 21's probably where I'm maxing out on this, I'd say, without having to put forth a lot of effort. But let's talk a little bit more about the speeds and feel back in the studio. Now that we're back in studio, let's take a look at where those speeds ended up. In the city riding mode, I started things out with no motor at 11 miles per hour. Eco mode pushed me along to 12 miles per hour. There was no change in tour mode, which was also 12 miles per hour. And then from there, I hit 14, 16, and 17 miles per hour in the remaining levels. Now, in the max settings, there was a small amount of change. Eco mode was once again 12 miles per hour, but tour did move up to 13 miles per hour this time. From there, I hit 16, 18, and finished turbo mode at 21 miles per hour. This is where you can see in practice what I mentioned before. This bike is a cyclist bike through and through. You barely can sense the motor, but you know it's there. The torque sensor will respond to how hard you push by delivering more power in kind, but you're definitely the main driver of the bike in terms of how fast you're going. I appreciate the fact that there are multiple modes to choose from, and that I didn't even show off the third class, which Velotric calls adventure mode for gravel rides. So it is nice to be able to pick how you'd like to ride. I do wish I had maybe just a bit more juice in its max settings, but I can see people who love going around the city now on a traditional bike will absolutely love something that makes you go just a little farther and just a little faster. Fitness machines like the T1 run lighter motor and batteries to achieve their low overall weight. But just because they have smaller motors and batteries doesn't mean they aren't effective, and they can prove to be pretty efficient overall. Now, to showcase this, we did some range testing. We rode the bike using the highest level of assist to see how far it would go in max power. And then we used that result along with our regression analysis we've made off of hundreds of data points of range testing over the years to determine the expected range of the minimum power setting in eco mode. In the end, we had a range of 30.83 miles using turbo mode, and that data suggests a range of 50 to 60 miles on eco. It's worth pointing out here that these numbers are based off of the bike's max profile speed setting and not the city settings, so the results could have been even greater here in the more conservative setup. At the end of the day, that's pretty decent mileage and will cover the majority of riders easily over any given day, maybe even over a few. Velotric advertises a range up to 70 miles, which we think is achievable. Remember, a lot of variables tie into range, such as weather, rider weight, and the amount of hills that you're faced with. Bottom line, if you want an e-bike with plenty of range, the T1 fits the bill. If you don't mind keeping the assist on the light side, which is not such a chore thanks to its 37-pound build. But if you plan on maxing out the power and want even more range, Velotric sells a range extender the size of a water bottle that'll add up to 30 miles more to the T1. For our hill test, I'll pass you over to Justin as he takes the T1 up to the top of Hellhole Trail to complete the 1/3 of a mile climb that averages a 12% grade.
All right, here we are on the Velotric going up Hellhole. This does not have a throttle, so it's pedal assist only, and I will say this is a very natural feeling, lightweight e-bike, which sometimes does not translate too great to Hellhole. It's a very steep hill, and so I am going to pedal. Not having to pedal too hard right now, but my guess is as I shift down to a lower gear, I'm gonna have to probably pedal a little bit more. feels very natural. And by natural, I mean, I'm not feeling a ton of kick from the motor. I'm feeling it, but as you can tell, you know, down to 6 miles an hour, you'll start to hear me breathe heavier. Yeah, this is a bike that going to something this steep, it's gonna be like a little easier than a normal bike. You know, if you took the motor and battery off this, it would be harder than what it is right now. But I think I'll make it up and just get a little workout in. So as far as the motor goes, I'll let you listen through this next section. It's incredibly quiet. So yeah, I got down to about 5 miles per hour and almost silent on that motor. So in terms of hill climbing capabilities, probably wouldn't mind if I had a little more juice. But it is, like I said, a very natural ride feeling to the bike. Which also is not uncommon for these style of, you know, city hybrid bikes. So as we get to the top, we'll see how we did, and I will get a drink of water and take a breather. But overall, it's not a bad feel. It is just a bike that, yeah, you're gonna have to help when you climb the hill.
So as you can see, the T1 has what it takes to take you to the top of the mountain, but it's not going to do the work for you. Justin ended up with a time of 2 minutes and 29 seconds. He averaged 7.3 miles per hour to the top, which has the distinction of being one of the slowest climbs up to the top of Hellhole for us. Now, bikes we have that finish the pedal test between 2 and 2.5 minutes are almost exclusively commuter or city e-bikes with similar sized motors. And this is where that "great for active riders" label comes into play. If you're looking for something that'll make life super easy, I'll kindly invite you to check out a different e-bike review. That's not the theme of the T1 on hill climbs. But if you're still sticking around, then you know this. Hellhole isn't the type of thing you'd climb twice back to back on a non-e-bike. But if you had to, the T1 is a difference maker. That makes it so you could tackle the challenge without taking a long breather in between. It's a difference maker in a way that still promises some endorphin release up the hill. When not taking on the hellholes of the world, the T1 does pretty well letting you go up your average hill and might reduce the amount of times you'd have to shift otherwise. As I mentioned on the speed test, you sometimes have to really search to hear or feel it working, but it definitely is doing it when you check in. In terms of how the T1 feels, I think Velotric did a really good job. But let's head out one last time to talk about the ride. So bikes like the T1, they serve a lot of different people, different use cases. I mean, if you're living on the second or third floor of an apartment, or you know, if you are a city rider who's just looking to get around, you need something very precise in terms of handling. And then of course there's, I like the way that they're marketing this as a bike for fitness, you know, something that you can get some exercise on, because it does provide a good amount of a little bit of assistance to help you keep going, but helps you to work for it. And part of the way that you work for it just all comes down to the fact that you are very, you know, engaged in pedaling at all times. This bike has you at a fairly forward lean, kind of in that, you know, more of an attack stance at all times. But it's really good and it's built for efficiency. So there aren't any suspension features. I mean, it's a rigid front fork, no shock absorption, but that does make it very precise and very nimble. It's the type of thing that, you know, feels responsive. You take turns quickly. Just the handling's really fun in general. Now part of that is thanks to the fact that this is the 700 by 38C tire. Got a little bit of tread to it, a little bit more of a gravel style, and I've actually appreciated the grip that it offers as you go into turns and corners, and then of course just going over some different types of terrain. Overall, there's not much adjustability here on this bike. I mean, I believe it's a 680 millimeter flat handlebar, And so make sure you get the sizing right when you go to order the bike. This is the medium frame. I would probably say I would be better off on the large frame. I'm a 6'1" rider. I think Velotric says it's good for the medium frame that I'm on. Is good for riders from 5'6" up to, I think they said 6 feet. I'd say maybe go an inch or two below that. If you're in that 5'10" range, just go ahead and jump up to the larger frame. The reach is a little tight for what I like, but I mean, overall, the handling characteristics and the efficiency of the design is, again, kind of what you like and appreciate on a bike like this. Now, the motor engagement is, like I said, it's very subtle. It's kind of like, you know, when you change up a recipe and you add one new spice or something like that, and you're trying to have your friends guess, it's like, you know, something's different, you know, it's there, but it's hard to always identify right away. But I do actually like and appreciate that subtle but meaningful assistance. It's ordinarily I'd, you know, slow down and show you as I like speed up, but it's like, it takes a minute to actually get there and show you. But it is a good motor for kind of like that purpose, going back to, you know, if you want an exercise bike, you want something that gives you a constant tailwind as you go through from the city, you know, whatever the purpose is, it does a good job for what it is. But let's talk a little bit more just about the awesome features that you get, because the T1 really shines with all of its extras that not a lot of e-bikes can boast about. I think all the features here really are fun and unique, and a step up in terms of what you get from the T1 ST model. The built-in GPS is an upgrade over the Find My system that the ST uses for even better peace of mind and notifications if people try to steal your ride. And the multiple ways to unlock the bike are great too. It works from the app, a simple shake of the bike when it's within Bluetooth range, or just swipe your fingerprint. It's a fun party trick that still feels cool in this day and age. Or simple things that it also has, such as the automatic lights that turn on without your input. But in addition to all the tech stuff, I think people will appreciate the clean look. No wires, you barely see the hub motor, and the tapered head tube just makes this whole thing look sleek. The only downside I found with the quality would be the app. It is sometimes just a little bit buggy. I had to unpair and repair my phone to it 3 different times when it wouldn't respond. It's not the end of the world, but a reminder that tech integrating with other products can encounter some occasional speed bumps in the road. I'll wrap up this review by telling a quick story about the first conversation I remember ever having about this bike. A friend of mine said they wanted to get back into exercising, and his research pointed them towards the T1. He felt it was a bike that would help him get out more and keep up with the pack, but it had the promise of making him earn it more than his wife or friends who were riding around on higher powered rides. That conversation ended with him asking if I thought the T1 was worth a buy. And while I told him to hang on till I reviewed it, I can now update that answer to it's a great bike for fitness purposes. Granted, that's not all it's good for. Lightweight e-bikes are in short supply, so apartment dwellers or people who split transportation on buses and bike lanes will love it too. Or tech geeks like myself who love to show off features are gonna have an absolute heyday. And all of this is without mentioning the fact that it is a nimble machine that feels, well, like how bikes we rode growing up feel. There's plenty of appeal to be had here, so long as you're the type of person that embraces motor power that's more of a beautiful solo than it is a rocking chorus. That's gonna do it for this review. If you're looking to buy a Velotric T1, make sure to click our affiliate link in the video description below. It supports our team at no additional cost to you. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments below, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. I'm Griffin Hales with Electric Bike Report, and I'll see you on the next review.